Hello everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Z and I'm a Canadian Pakistani cinematographer. And today's video is going to be a lighting breakdown on a commercial that we shot for a juice wellness brand. So first up, here's the commercial.
I never did a shit from nobody before.
Balancing life's demands can be challenging, but nourishing your body and mind doesn't have to be. That's why there's Glory Juice. Made from the freshest, organic, locally sourced ingredients, packed with nutrients to keep you energized and focused. No matter where life takes you, feel the vitality, embrace the wellness. Be glorious. Glory Juice. Nourish your body, fuel your life.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. So we're not going to go through all of the shots, but I did pick a few here for us to go through. And the first one we have is our main talent in the kitchen, getting ready to drink his juice in the early morning. So the goal of this shot was to make it seem like it was early in the morning. We had the sun coming through the window, and there is quite a lot going down here. So let's break it up piece by piece. Okay, so the first two lights I want to highlight are our practicals that we have in the shot. So we have one here and we have one here. Those are the Godox K8s, which are essentially just aperture MCs. So we have those here just to add a little bit of pop into the shot. So we have those set to about 4,000 Kelvin at 15%. So same one with this one over here. That's an aperture MC at 4,000 Kelvin at about 15%. Okay. And again, those are just used to add a little bit of pop into the shot. The next thing I want to talk about is actually the use of this light back here. Okay, and we're bouncing a light into the ceiling just so that this door doesn't fall off into darkness. And the light we have there is the Xeon G300, and that's also set to about 4,000 Kelvin, and we had that set to just about 10%. So again, we just had that light there to add a little bit of fill into the doorway. Otherwise, it was just like this pitch black darkness that was not looking good in frame. Okay, now let's get into the two main lights, which are the heavy hitters in this shot. And the first one here is the one that's acting as our sun. So you can see that spill all the way in the kitchen and even spots of our main talent here. So the light that we're using for that is the Godox 1200 by. Now we do have this going through a silk and also a cucoloris. Now, again, I absolutely love using a cucoloris. Helps break up the light, makes it look less sourcey, and just makes it look like a little bit more like sunshine. And we do actually have this light set to about 100%. So we did end up using the full intensity of our light that day. And I think it looked absolutely beautiful the way we have it set up. Now, the next light I want to talk about is what's giving us the main fill into our actor's face. And the light we used for that was the Godox 2x2 panel, the F200 by. So that's again the Godox F200 by. And that's essentially a 2x2 panel. We did have that on a grid and a diffusion as well. And again, that light was being used just to fill in our actor's face here. And we did have that set up just about over here off camera right. So again, without that, our talent wouldn't have this wonderful look on his face, the wonderful wraparound that you see there. And the last thing I want to highlight, which gives us this beautiful contrast here, is the use of a negative fill. So if you take a look at this kitchen, you can see that everything is quite white and reflective. So to combat that, we actually put up garbage bags onto the kitchen onto the fridge that was behind him. So again, that's what created all this contrast and made sure that the light that we had coming in from the right hand side wasn't bouncing back and adding more light to the back of him. So that would obviously just take away a little bit more contrast away from him, which is not what we wanted. So we try to put up as much garbage bags as we can to act as negative fill for this shot. So there is quite a bit of going on here into this shot, but I think the outcome was quite beautiful. Okay, so the next shot I want to talk about is the yoga scene. Now, I'm particularly going to pick this one here, but they all had a very similar setup. Now, one of the main challenges we had with this shot, and particularly this location, was that there was a giant skylight right above this spot. Now, we had to actually put together a bunch of garbage bags and and use that as negative fill. So that's what you're seeing, creating this contrast here, because if we didn't do that, we would have a bunch of light just spilling down this way. So big shout out to our grip Jonathan, who took the time to rig all those garbage bags together and add that onto the ceiling. So it's very important that you're able to control the light and get the look that you're going for. Okay, so the next shot I want to talk about is our main key light. Now, the goal of this was to make it nice, soft, large source. And we did that by using the Godox F600 by. And essentially that's a giant 4x4 panel that's 600 watts. Okay, we did use that with the grid and a diffusion. We had this set to at 5600 Kelvin at about 40%. So let me just rewrite that. That was a little bit messy here. Okay, so 40%. There we go. Okay, and that's what's giving us this beautiful light onto our main talent's face. And what's even great about this is that you can see that little glint of light in her face, in her eyes, I mean. So obviously elevates the shot that much more to give us that beautiful look. Now, we do also have a practical here in the background. So that's just a lamp that we had set up. And that gives a little point of interest into the shot. It is hidden by our background talent, but we did still add it there to elevate the shot a little bit. Okay, the next light I want to highlight, and the last one we have in this shot, is what we used as a room tone. So for that, we used the Godox 1200 by, and we just had that bouncing off camera right into the ceiling here, and that was giving us a little bit of fill into the room that way. So we had that just set about 10% at 5600 Kelvin. And again, that was just used to elevate the entire room back here. Okay, so that's all we had going on for this shot. Again, we had the F600 by set up as our main key light. We had a 1200 by shot into the ceiling acting as a room tone. And of course, the superstar of our shot for this was the negative fill we added to the skylight. Again, very important that you're able to control the light because you're not going to be able to get the look that you're going for otherwise without, of course, a lot of work. So yes, that was for this yoga scene. Nice, bright, beautiful wraparound on our main talent's face. I think our DP, Matt, just did a wonderful job on this shot. Okay, the next shot I want to talk about is this meditation scene. Now, the first thing I want to highlight is the practicals because there are quite a bit here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so there is quite a few practicals in this shot. Most of these are aperture MCs, and they're set to about 3200 Kelvin at 20%. We do actually have a tube back here. So that's a 2-foot tube that we used. And that was just so we can cover more of this wall back here. Okay, and the next light I want to talk about, and the only light we used in this shot, was the F600 by, and we had that hung overhead on a menace arm. So we did that so we can control the light and make sure it was only spilling onto our talent. Because if we had it camera right, this would have spilled all over to the background, and we wanted to make sure we can control the lighting so it was just hitting our talent here. So again, that was the 4x4 panel overhead. We did use it with the grid plus a diffusion silk on top as well. We had that set to about 50% with the Kelvin temperature of 5600 Kelvin. So again, you get this beautiful top-down shot that's just illuminating our talent here. And that was all for the shot. I think the set decor, the practicals, and this beautiful top-down lighting did a wonderful job to make this shot look really, really nice. So yeah, that was everything. Pretty simple, but I love the way it turned out. Okay, and the last shot I want to talk about is this one that we shot outdoors here of our main talent drinking the juice. So shout out to Glory Juice. Okay, so we have two things going on in this shot. The first one is our main key light that we have hitting our talent from this side. And that's a Godox F200 by, which is a 2x2 panel. We did have a grid. We did have a diffusion in front, and we had a silk. So again, we just really wanted a nice soft look hitting our talent on this side here. And the next thing that we added off camera left was negative fill. And the negative fill was used again to create this contrast that you see here. And that just gives you this beautiful fall off that's happening from left to right. So that was it for this shot. It is very simple. You don't have to overcomplicate things. Sometimes you just, again, need one light and one fill. That's all the shots we're going to go through today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm happy to explain anything further. And if you like this video, please be sure to like it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you on the next one.